So here we are, another day, another lesson. Just inviting you guys to watch as I set up my class today. Today my students are going to be learning about KPIs. I never considered adding this into the course before. It was actually my wonderful girlfriend suggested that I teach about KPIs so that at least these students can start to gauge where they're at compared to where they need to be with regards to their finances. Because one thing to give all this information and share all this knowledge, but it's something completely different to actually say, hey, how do I stack up? How am I compared to the rest of the world? How good am I really, right? And also beyond thinking about the rest of the world, how good am I compared to me? Am I even meeting my own financial standards? Am I even reaching my own financial potential based on my own financial goals? So today is all about key performance indicators. That's all we're going to be talking about, looking at, and exploring. And one of the ones, there's a YouTuber that I follow, and I really like the way he broke it. One of the things that he said, and he broke it up based on age, right? I won't say who the YouTuber is, but if you know, you know. He says your income level should be 2,000 times your age, right? So let's say you're coming out of college for the first time. Let's say you're 24 years old, and that means at 24 years old, 2,000 times your age equals, what is that, $48,000. So as a starting job, a starting salary, you should be aiming to make about that much or more as a baseline. Like if you're not making that, then you're falling behind. And the cool thing that he says is after that, you need to increase that number by your age every year.
Excuse me, Mr. Rogers, just a reminder that financial empowerment will be in room 116. Once again, for grade 12, financial empowerment will be in room 116. Thank you.
That's just a quick announcement for my students to come down to room 116 to get some of his knowledge and some of his wisdom. But yeah, he says you should be increasing it. You should increase it every year, every time, as we're getting older, to not just stick with that original number, but to increase it 2,000 times a year. Technically, he says 1,500, but he's in America, and that converts to Canada to about 2,000 to be at least on the average level. Now, within the MITM Club, we crank those numbers up, but it's a really cool concept. Anyways, with that being said, I gotta get into teaching my class. I'll see y'all in a little bit. Peace. Well, we're gonna get started. What do y'all remember from last time? Amazing investments. That's a great start. I'm happy to hear that. Anything specific about investments comes to mind?
Like what to know when you're searching for investment, make sure it's public, not private.
That too, yeah. That's one of them. Yeah.
That's the tip of my tongue, but it's going on.
We are going to talk about something else today and have a quick riddle. So let's get started. We only have like 34 minutes, okay? So I'm going to try and squeeze a lot in quick. The question here is, I measure your goals and track your success. Numbers and data, I help you progress. It is I guiding your business finesse. What am I? Nope, not investments, not this time. What am I?
How did it do with accounting?
It's something to do with accounting, sort of. On the right track. Yeah. What? It's kind of tough, so I don't expect y'all to get. The bank account's a part of it, sort of.
Plan?
Plan is part of it, yes. I say you're the closest. What did you say again?
It's kind of like a chart with kind of like document.
Sort of, so it's part of it. But specifically, tracking your stuff is what it is, and I don't expect y'all to know this word, but it is your key performance indicators. Oh, yeah. KPIs, okay? Yeah. I didn't expect y'all to get it, but you're the closest, so congratulations. Now, when we're looking at KPIs, there's lots of different aspects that we're going to look at them. A lot of people discuss KPIs when it comes to like job performance. Like if you work somewhere and they're like, hey, we expect you to have this many sales per month, right? Or maybe like police officers have to have a quota of how many tickets they give out, which is a terrible KPI for people that drive. But we're going to be looking at KPIs today, all right? Specifically, the importance of KPIs and understanding them. Okay, there's a lot that I'm going to try and get to today. Like usual, I'm trying to cram a lot into a little bit of time. 30 minutes on the clock, and let's go. So today, by the end of today, I'm going to introduce you to the essential financial KPIs that'll help you manage your personal finances effectively. Okay, these are crucial metrics that can help guide you on your journey to financial prosperity, especially as you transition from college into your professional lives. We'll be covering 6 key aspects. Okay, savings rate, budgeting adherence, credit score, debt to income ratio, and net worth and emergency fund. Now, you'll notice we kind of talked about all of these already during other sessions, but I didn't tell you how to track them. I just told you about them. I didn't give you the specific numbers on how to work with these. Okay, we're going to start off with definitions and then go further. So, as college students, university students, or if you're taking a gap year, whatever it may be, you're going to have your own unique financial challenges. Some of these are going to include managing tuition, sometimes a nightmare for some. Living expenses if you're planning to live not at home, right? Or student loans if you're going the student loan route. You're going to want to develop a strong understanding of your personal finances now so you can find more success and stability in the future. All right. So when you look at KPIs, when you master these KPIs, you're gonna be set and equipped for life. And that's what I really want to make sure I do this in a way with y'all is that you're just kicking butt and taking names. All right. So how many of you right now track any financial metric? How many of you are keeping track of your money right now? How much you're spending, how much you're saving, how much comes in? Who's keeping track? One, two. Sometimes.
Yeah, especially when I usually do it so that I don't go over it. And I knew that I wanted to spend so I had to track on how much those were. And I didn't happen to open my budget.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
that's just an example.
Yep. Okay, and that's a great example. So KPIs help us know. You want to just share yours? Yep.
For a while, spending money responsibly.
Mm.
Became painfully obvious that so I just have to save.
Yeah.
But you're not saving. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
But save.
Okay, that's what's up. So we're gonna go deeper into this, but the first thing that I want to tell y'all is that to be average, to be average in the world of finances, this is an easy calculation you could do. Take 2,000 times your age, and that's how much money you should make per year. 2,000 times your age is how much you should make per year. And well, y'all are not in the working world yet, so yeah. So how much? 34,000, right? And yeah, that's how much you should be making at your age to be average, right? Now you guys are all in high school still, so I don't expect you to make this. But let's say you're coming out of high school, you're going through college. So I say about 24 years old. Let's start the number there, okay? So 2,000 times 24 years old means you should be making $48,000. So your first entry level job, yeah. No, this is like average. So if you want to be average, aim for this as a baseline. Don't try not to go under this. And I'll show you what this breakdown actually means for what kind of job you should be looking for. So $48,000 per year minimum. Okay, you'll be living an okay life. This looks like $4,000 a month. Not that hard, right? Which is $1,000 a week, simple math, which ends up being $25 an hour if you're working 40 hours a week, okay? So full-time job, $25 an hour. When you're also coming out of university, college, whatever, do not go below this line, okay? Do not go less than this. That's the very minimum that you should be making to be competitive and to be average. Now, yeah. And depending on what skills you're developing over time, you'll make more and more. Now, I tell folks not to look at minimum wage. Don't pay attention to minimum wage. Refuse to work for minimum. I made the decision when I was 18, so working at a burger shop, making like $10 and change. They gave me a raise, 30 cents. From like $9 and change to $10 and change. And I'm like, this is disrespectful. It's not okay. You guys are riling me up for this raise. You give me 30 cents? Are you kidding me? And I quit that job. And I decided, hey, I'm gonna go do some personal training and I'm gonna find a better job. I got a job at 18 an hour, plus bonuses because I speak French, while everyone else is making less than $10. Foolishness. So I say the standard for y'all is you don't work for minimum wage moving forward. You don't work for minimum wage. You work for at least 20 minimum, okay? Unless there's some sort of other value, unless you're working cash, right? Then technically like minimum wage cash is worth like, oh yeah, immediately. From when you first start getting the job, you should be looking at how much the industry is hiring at, how much other people in that company are getting paid at, and you should try and bargain for the highest amount possible. Because the only other way you'll make more money is to leave that company and go somewhere else. You can have like a 10% gain in income if you shift companies every 2 to 3 years, compared to like a 0.2 or 0.5% increase in income if you stay there for a long time, right? Yeah. Is exactly what she did, yeah. And that's something that she's very adamant about. Personally, I don't work for people. I can't. I'm too stubborn and too ridiculous to work for someone. So self-employment is my route. But let's hop into, now I told you guys about the average, let's talk about savings rate. Okay, now what exactly is savings rate? Savings rate is a percentage of money that you end up saving. Okay, this is a long spiel. Saving is your foundational aspect of financial health. Consistent saving habits help you build financial. But I've told you all over and over and over again to pay yourself first. Over and over and over and over again, pay yourself first. No matter what, pay yourself first. Right? This prepares you for unexpected expenses, provides capital for future investments and other opportunities. Okay. We're going to look at how we calculate that, but before that, this just is telling us that research is telling us that people that do save are probably going to have a better financial future. The wealthy people save their money to make it work for them. And I want every single, you guys are millionaires in the making, so we're trying to make sure that's a reality for you. And this is what it looks like. This is the calculation. It's very simple. Okay? You divide your savings by your monthly income, and afterwards you times that by 100. Simple, right? And the way that it looks is like so. So let's say you're making $1,000 a month, $250 a week is pretty good, part time, whatever. But you're saving 200, amazing. That means you're saving about 2%. If you're saving about 2%, that means you're saving 20. Okay, yeah, and it depends it depends how many hours you're working. Because you could be working, I don't know, if you're doing a full-time minimum wage job, 40 hours a week, do you want to calculate that for me? Because I'm going to calculate 15 times 40, I think it's something ridiculously low. 15 times 40, because I was actually going to hire some people minimum wage. I know, I say don't do it, but yeah, that's not enough money. But like some people will take it. So this is the thing about businesses. Businesses are going to try and pay out that's like rent in Toronto. Like if you want a place by yourself, like it's ridiculous. Minimum wage is hard to survive on now. But you can do this calculation to say, what is your percentage of your savings rate? And you should change things accordingly to get to the goals you want. Now, here are 5 ways to increase your savings rate. All right. So the first way is to set clear goals. So y'all mentioned when I said what are some things that one of the things that'll help you? Yeah, actually having goals. How much money do you want to put away by when? Okay. Next thing is automating your savings. I personally use something called Money Rules at Tangerine Bank. And what that lets me do is anytime a dollar goes into my account, 10% goes over into my savings. It gets mixed, it gets sent places automatically. I don't have to think about it. But then I look at my account and I'm like, oh, my Living Wealthy Fund has this much and my Wealth Capture account has that much. I automated it, so I don't have to think about it. When I was your age, what I actually did is every single time I got paid, anytime someone gave me some money, I'll go to the bank and I'd say, hey, I'd write down the percentages and give them the sheet and say, give me back envelopes of this money for my savings, my investing, my emergency fund, my fund money in cash, different envelopes. And I would use those envelopes accordingly. But now you don't have to do that. You can automate it. I would suggest trying that out for like at least a month or two, the paper one, so that you can see it, right? And you can actually physically feel what's happening. After you've done that for a bit, it becomes ingrained in you, and it's easier to then say, hey, let me move on to something else. Okay. The next thing is reduce your unnecessary expenses. If you don't need to spend money, try not to spend it. Okay. It's unnecessary. Make sure if your goal is to have a 20% savings rate, then make sure that you're reducing your unnecessary expenses and increase your income. That's honestly, when I said I'm not working for minimum wage anymore, and I had that standard, and I've had that standard for life. Like I'm not lowering my standards. Now I don't accept work if it's less than $30 an hour, unless there's all sorts of other benefits for me. And even that $30 is not enough, because I know what it's like to make $9 or $750 in an hour. It's nice. It's very nice, you know. So, but you want to increase your income. That's the best way to be able to change your savings rate, because saving 50% of $10,000 in a month is easier than saving 50% of $2,000, right? Because you're living off of 5 now instead of, okay? So increase your income. Another one is track and adjust. And you'll see this as a recurring theme. Track and adjust, track and adjust. See if you're actually on the right place and adjust accordingly. Okay, we're shifting gears. We're going to talk about debt to income ratio. What does it mean? The debt to income ratio is a financial metric that compares your total monthly debt payments to your gross monthly income. It's expressed as a percentage and helps the lender assess your ability to manage monthly payments and repay debt. This is something that often the credit card companies will do automatically to see how much you're paying back. If you're going for a mortgage or something, this is what they look at to say, oh, this is how much money you have, this is how much money you owe, and this is how much you will owe if you take this, right? And that is something, it's a KPI, key performance indicator, to see if you're on track or not. Okay? Definition continued. Why does this matter? A low DTI indicates that you have a healthy balance between debt and income. It's also good. Wonderful. I love when that happens. So when you manage your DTI, it'll help with your financial stability overall. Okay, it'll lower your financial stress and make it challenging to achieve, make it less challenging to achieve your financial goals. Okay. This is the calculation for DTI. Do y'all kind of notice a similarity to the last calculation? Yeah, so pretty much the same calculation, but this time instead of savings, we just put debt. All right. So if we look at it here, we say, hey, this person is spending $600 a month on a phone bill, not phone bill, but like a finance phone plan, right? On their financed car, on their credit card repayments, and they're spending $600 a month, and they have $3,000 coming in. That means 20% of their income is going towards their debt. Okay, and I don't know if you remember in the budgeting section, I told you you have a certain percentage you can live on, right? Do you guys remember that? About 50 to 70% you can live on. So far, this person has used 40% just on savings and on debt. Okay, and it's a very, very simple calculation. Here are 5 ways that we can improve our DTI. So reduce your debt. Okay, get rid of the debt. Don't take on more of it. Increase income again. You see, there's a theme here. Make more money. Make more money. It's a lot of problems are solved if you make more money. There's nothing wrong with making more money. Avoid new debt. If you don't need to go into debt for other things, don't do it. Okay, I say if it's not debt that's going to put more money back into your pocket and it doesn't serve you, try not to do it. Okay, like if you're leveraging, you're like, hey, I have this Mona Lisa. I'm willing to go into debt to get a loan for my Mona Lisa because that's going to keep going up in value. It's what is that? It's technically a type of arbitrage, but it's a whole different conversation. Budget effectively. Okay, you made your budget, or you went over your budget with shopping.
Yeah, just like it was like if we don't.
Yeah, so you managed it effectively. Maybe you could have been more effective, but you kept it in mind. You managed. You didn't go like $200-300 over. Like $5-6 whatever.
Yeah.
So that's good. And then monitor your DTI regularly. You want to go back in and say, what is happening with my cash? What is happening with my debt? Why is this happening with my debt? And then review and shift things accordingly. Next up, we got net worth. All right. Now, your net worth is everything that you own, that all your assets. Does anyone remember what assets are? Land is one, yeah. Cash, yeah. Houses can be on both sides, but yes. Income generating properties, yeah. Accounts receivable, yes, that is an asset. Anyone else want to say some assets for me? Other assets? Said some good ones. Okay, what are some liabilities? Remember what the liabilities we discussed before? Accounts payable, technically, yes. Pets, yes. Pets can be liabilities. Children, cars, yeah. Phone can be, your mortgage can be, yeah. So these are liabilities. So when you take your assets minus your liabilities, now you have your net worth. Pretty simple math so far, right? And you want to look at things, yeah, your cash, your savings accounts, investments, real estate, invaluable personal property. That's all inside of your assets. And your liabilities, cars, pets, credit cards, outstanding debt in general. And when you have those numbers, you'll find your net worth pretty easily. Now, here's the example. If I have $50,000 in assets, but $30,000 in liabilities, I only have a $20,000 net worth, right? Which doesn't say that I have a high net worth at all. Sometimes I was actually watching this video this morning. Was it this morning or yesterday? Anyways, it was recently. And there's this billionaire that was broke. How does that make sense? The billionaire that's broke. Well, he's a billionaire on paper, first of all. He doesn't have actualized, his company's worth billions, right? And because he has shares in that company, he's worth billions. But his liabilities were higher than his actual assets, so he's broke. So you can make a lot of money. There's a lot of people that make a lot of money, but then they have something called lifestyle creep. And so their liabilities match their assets. And that's why a lot of people end up having a zero net worth or a negative net worth, especially when they have a lot of money. You would think that they say more money, more problem, right? That's if you don't know how to manage it. And so you could have a negative net worth and be making like $200,000-300,000 per year. But maybe it's because you wanted a bigger house that costs like $10K a month to operate. Now it's like, there's all your money, bye-bye. Okay, let's actually dive a little bit deeper into this now. So the strategies to increase your net worth. I think we're good for time so far. but I can slow down a little bit, I think. It's to boost your savings, invest in assets, and enhance your skills. And I know I haven't talked much about enhancing your skills, but enhancing your skills is one of the most crucial things that you could do right now. Personally, like this AI boom in the last 18 months has been crazy, and I expect it to get even crazier. And I foresee that a lot of people that have intellectual jobs are going to lose their jobs. Okay? If it's not personable, you're probably going to lose your job. So, what I'm personally doing, getting ahead of this, I'm learning, getting deeper into Python coding. I'm learning how to create bots. Exactly. But not even for me to hire. I'm actually creating AI bots to work for me. So I'm like, I could spend $3,000 a month on an employee and create an AI bot that does it for me. So I keep more. Business is always trying to keep more. Employees are trying to make more. But if you learn these things, now you could be the person that operates. For example, for one of my clients, I actually help them with everything to do with their AI because I've been studying it for a while. So I'm like, hey, this is the new AI. Check this out. Check that out. I make a simple chatbot for them to plug things in that they need. I'm operating it. They don't know I'm operating it. They're like, hey, we need this many emails for our email campaign. That's great. Answer these 10 questions and let me spit out 50 emails for you. And I'm already using AI as an enhance. So the skill set, enhancing your skills is going to be more and more crucial for the future than ever before. Especially we're in a turning age. This is like what's happening now is akin to when like the steam engine happened and akin to when the internet was first launched. We're in that age right now. And it's so much faster because AI grows so quick. So I would say that's just my side note suggestion, but enhance your skills overall so that you're valuable. You are your own business. No matter where you work, no matter who you work for, know that you're now contracting out yourself as a business to that person or to that company. Okay, let me stop rambling, hop into the next thing. So next, you want to pay down your high interest debt. First, if you have an interest that's saying 20%, a debt that's 20% interest, and a debt that's like 5% interest, which one are you going to pay out first? And there's more nuance to it though, because maybe the 20% interest is like on $10, but the 5% is on 10. But whichever one is actually taking more out of your pocket, that's what you want to do. And that's the ones you want to pay off first. Refinance or consolidate loans. Have you guys heard of refinancing before? So refinance just means you go in and say, hey, I owe you $10,000 for this car, but could we refinance the loan so it's at a lower rate because your credit might be better? Or you've made improvements on a house, refinance that. Technically, that's a thing, but yeah. Refinance the house. So now they're like, oh, wow, you put a new kitchen in. You spent $50,000, but this looks really nice. And they're appraising it at an additional $100,000. Refinance your house now. You just made $100,000. Well, technically $50,000. Let's just keep it simple. You made $100,000 just because you refinanced your mortgage. You have more equity in the property now. Yeah. So refinancing is so if you go in to finance something the first time, you're saying, hey, I'm doing this at this interest rate. Maybe something's changed in the market. Maybe your credit score has improved. Maybe you have more equity inside of the asset. And you can go and say, hey, I want a lower rate now. Or this asset now is worth more money. So I have more equity in here, so I owe you less. That's sort of what refinancing does. It's a renegotiation of whatever you had agreed to before.
When you first started.
You compared to when you first started. So you can go back in later and shift things around. Yeah. Consolidating is a little different. Consolidating say, I have all of these different debts and I don't want to pay for all of these different debts. So can we just put it into one debt and I just pay one bill? That's consolidation. And a lot of folks have difficulties with managing because they have this coming out on the 5th of the month and that coming out on the 20th of the month and that on the 1st and then the 30th and then on the 15th, and it gets too much for some folks. A lot of my clients actually deal with that. So what we do is say, hey, we're going to take all of that and put it into one payment. And that's not consolidating, so you can pay off one thing. Yeah. Question?
If you're in debt,
Mm-hmm.
let's say for someone else,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't pay off, does that get interest?
It will, depending on what type of loan it is, but yeah. So most loans will have interest. No, it'll keep going up. Yeah. And that's something that, I mean, it could keep going up to a certain point. You could negotiate it back down, but like that's more of a, because the contracts that you're agreeing to when you spend the money is that it's going to be at that rate. Yeah. And then avoid new debt. Because if your thing is in assets minus liabilities, the more liabilities you get, the more debt you have. Now, if you're a real estate investor and you're someone that has houses, that's a whole different ballgame. They love to sit in debt. Is it debt equity? But they'll be like, yeah, I have like $600,000 in debt, but it's all in properties and assets that are cash flowing. So they care about the cash flow more than the debt. But that's a whole different lesson and different conversation. Lastly, once again, y'all might see a bit of a recurring theme here. You want to review. You want to set specific financial goals, or you want to adjust. So when we look at our net worth, You want to say, hey, am I actually on track to where I want to get to? Am I going to get to that place? What do I need to review to get to that place faster? How far am I? Okay, cool. I hit this new milestone. Or maybe I'm $5 off. I need to shift this one thing. I'm not buying the Starbucks while I'm shopping in the mall. I need that to stay there, you know? So you review and you adjust. Now, that does tap right into your budget adherence. So here's how we're gonna, and when you look at budget adherence, this is another key performing indicator. I think so far we're at number 4 we're at, I think 5 actually. Wow, we went through a bunch of budget, EMG. Yeah. So when we look at budget adherence, you want to once again say, how well am I sticking to my budget or not? So list your income and expenses. Actually write it down. So many people don't write it down. Heck, I know I'm guilty of not writing it down all the time. But I go back in and I review my stuff at least once in a while to make sure that I'm good. I suggest when you're first starting out, when you get paid, today's payday, today's review day. Right? That's the easy way to remember it, to make sure it's some sort of system. At least if you do once a month, I review my things when I get paid on the first, and then I chill. Then at least you're on the right path. The next thing, categorize your expenses. And most banks will automatically do this for you. They'll automatically say you spent this much on your car, that much on your housing stuff, that much on entertainment. But you should take the time to categorize it and say, no, this is where I'm at and how much I'm doing in different places. So you can say, oh man, my living wealthy fund was 10%, but I went over because I wanted to party even more with my friends, and it's affecting this other living portion. I have less for my car or less for my house or whatever it is. Categorize the things. Set your spending limits. You can automatically do this with your cards now, with any bank account. You can set it up so that if you reach a certain amount, it will stop letting you pay for it. So set your spending limits. Track your spending. See, it's very repetitive. Track, keep track. There was, another thing I was watching this morning. It's so crazy. I'll leave that. This dude is saying his mentor is a billionaire. He knows where every dollar that he spends goes. And as he's having a conversation with his mentee, he's like, when was the last time you spent $100? What was it on? And the guy's like, I don't really know. And he said, well, I went to 7-Eleven and I spent $3.60 on a coffee drink or whatever. And he's like, I make what you make for the year in a month. And you don't know where your money is. But I know where my money is. You think that he has so much money, he wouldn't think about where his money is. Whereas this guy was so focused on chasing and getting more money. Whereas the guy that's actually a billionaire is more focused on managing and maintaining. That's why that is so repetitive. I did this on purpose. I want you all to know to track your money. Know where it's going, okay? The more you know, the more energy you flow into it, the more it'll grow. And once again, review and adjust. Always review and adjust, because we're not always going to be perfect. We're going to have great months, terrible months. And you want to review what you're doing and adjust it accordingly to get to your goal. Some ways you can do this: use budgeting tools. Automate your payments and your savings. If you automate your payments, be careful with that. Make sure this is a whole separate thing. Personally, I'm an entrepreneur. My money, I make like $11,000 a month. I make like no money the next month. Not that I've ever made no money in a month, but like it's crazy. It fluctuates like this. But when you have like a set income that's stable, like my girlfriend has, then you could actually set things to say, no, this automatically gets paid. This automatically gets saved every month. And if you know that you have that coming in every single month, you can set it and forget it. You don't have to be like me, actually looking, saying, no, move this here, no, move that there. Hey guys, take it on this date, not on that date, blah, blah, blah. It's something that'll make your life a lot easier. Monitor your discretionary spending. You shouldn't be so tight with your wallet, but you shouldn't be too loose, so just monitor it. Plan for regular expenses and stay flexible. Don't be rigid. When I was younger, I was so rigid, and it actually messed me up more than it helped me. Because I'm like, my pay myself first rule is my pay myself first rule. But I was so strict about it that I'm like, I'm not going to take the bus. I will walk there because I'm not going to spend my own money to pay myself first. I'm not paying TTC, okay? And it's like, is that wise? Sometimes. But you want to be able to be a little bit flexible with your plan, okay, with your budget. Let's talk about emergency fund real quick. Now, your emergency fund is your savings account specifically set aside to cover your unexpected expenses. 19 and my dog got hit by a car. And my mom's like, well, you wanted a dog. You gotta deal with it. And it was a $4,000 bill. And I'm like, I make $4,000 in a year with my part-time job. I'm a regular brokey, And yeah, the craziest thing about that is I had no money set aside, no pet insurance, no nothing. Thankfully, the vet was like, we're gonna do this surgery, keep your dog alive. You're gonna pay us on this payment plan. I was paying that off forever. Felt like so. But have your emergency fund, and this is how we calculate your emergency fund. You want to take your bills for the month and times it by 3 or 6 or more. This means we have at least a 3-month runway. And here's what it would look like. If it is that you're making $2,000 for the month, and we have to do a minimum of 3 months, you need 6 months to be able to be okay. Then if you lose your job, you get sick, whatever happens. And I remember we talked about this with insurance. We talked about this with critical illness. But you should, have your own emergency fund set aside, regardless of if you have any of those other things set up. And the cool thing about this is this turns into your living wealth, your wealth creation account in the future, because there's 11 different stages of wealth. And start with this. Okay, minimum 3 months. Then we say ideal is 6 months. Yeah, all the money you make every month. I'll show you exactly how to. Well, I think I put it in here, but there's a way to do it, and we'll talk about it. Let me just get this. So ideally, you want to have 3 months, but for us, we have an MITM standard. You want to have a year. You want to get up to a point where you have a year put aside in your emergency fund. So anything happens, you can just go and enjoy life for a year and be like, I'm not stressed. Now, the question was, you asked, how do you do that? And you once again have to figure out the percentage that you're saving to put away. We said during budgeting to do, what was it, 10 or 20%? 20%? Yeah, because 10% was for your investments, 20% was for an emergency fund, give or take. 5% was for your living wealthy account, that's 35, and we had 65% to live off of. So if you're following that, then, and you know your KPIs, how long would it take you to save $6,000 at only X percent of your income? Maybe it takes you a year to have 3 months of savings. Maybe it takes you 2 years, right? Exactly. Yeah. So you at least have that runway now to make sure that you're golden. Now, your emergency fund, wow, we're literally like we're right on time. Your emergency fund you want to have your savings goal, just like everything else. Automate your saving, reduce non-essential spending, use windfalls. Now, windfalls may be a new word. Have you guys heard of that? Windfall? Windfall happens when something happens in the market that says, hey, Uncle Joe died and someone hit your car and had to pay for it, but they paid you extra. You got it fixed for cheaper. When money comes into your account that you're not expecting, throw it into your emergency fund, your investment fund. Okay, don't just be like, shopping spree. No. You know? So I just have this last thing just to show y'all the 4 main things. So the first one, your savings ratio, your debt ratio, your net worth, thank you, and your emergency fund. Very simple ways to calculate these things. Try to make it as attainable as possible. Lastly, as usual, can you please scan this link? Give me feedback for this course. Let me know if you love today, if you hate today, what you learned about today's session. And I will see y'all next week. Have a great day. I'll see y'all soon.